Yeah, right.
Whoa, this ain't going.
Be down the side.
But I appreciate everybody on the chat tonight for your comments. Well, welcome to the Bee Connection. Happy Thursday. Hopefully y'all's weather is just a little bit better than mine. Looks like the hurricane has finally gotten here and it's been with us most of the day. The wind has died down. We did lose power for just a little while. And things have just kind of slowed down to a steady rain. So anybody in the south of us in South Carolina, Georgia, North Carolina, that's got this rain, they understand it's a lot of places have really flooded really hard. So I know I think was it Bob? I think I seen some videos of Bob's area down there, and looked like he was had a lot of rain down in his area. So we're a little fortunate. We got the mountains, so it's knocked most of that rain off. But the bees are still having to deal with it, and so I'd really like to talk a little bit about getting your bees ready for winter. I know it's still kind of summer. We're heading to that fall, but if you don't have your bees prepared, ready for winter, then waiting until the last minute won't work. So we'll try to talk about that a little bit tonight. Just a little bit about what's going on in my bee yard. Nothing. Didn't do anything this week. Just letting the bees chill out. Do have about 12 nukes that I hope to get built up before winter. That's something we'll talk about here in a little bit. So. What about you, Spanky? Do anything in your bees today, this week?
Not today, I can tell you that much. And then bees would have been so mad.
Yeah, you probably got more rain down there than we did, didn't you, Spanky?
It was pouring, yeah. It's still pouring. It says heavier rain's coming up soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's flooding in areas.
Yeah, for anybody who doesn't know, Spanky's actually at the foot of the mountain, so he's getting the rain pushed up over the mountain over us, so he's getting a lot of rain where he's at. So,
and anything that comes back down that mountain's coming to him then, huh?
Yeah, that's pretty much right. Rain goes up the mountain, then it's coming back down as a river. So, yeah, he's getting all that. So, yeah. So, you do anything else in your bee yard this week, Spanky?
Not this week, no. Not that I can think of.
Really? Yep. So, what about you, Lee, man? You done anything in your bee yard this week?
About the only thing I've done or had time to do, the hives that I'd already pulled the honey off of, I've got other colonies that still got honey on them. So I just started pulling those supers off, setting it on the other colonies that didn't have a super on it. And I figure I'm just going to wait till fall to pull the rest of my honey now. I mean, 112, 115 heat index out there. I really don't feel like trying to run the bees out of the box, carry all them boxes up. It was just too hot.
Yeah.
And trying to do it all by myself. So I just moved the boxes over onto the colonies that didn't have a super and let them protect it. And I did notice one hive that was empty. Now, looking in it, it didn't look like a slime out or anything from hive beetles. So I don't know if they just absconded or what and then got robbed out.
Right. Yeah, and that's something else. I've had a few calls for people wanting queens this time of year. It's not something you really expect, but I was over at my master beekeeper doing some inspections with him. He's doing a grant for some kind of mite treatments, and we got in his colonies. And out of the 7 colonies we got to before the rain hit, it ended up 3 of those had queen cells in them. They were getting ready to swarm out on him. So, that's something you don't expect this time of year. But when you really contract those honey supers down, sometimes you squeeze them a little tight and they'll blow out on you. So, that does happen. So, but what's going on, Dawson? It's good to see you tonight. And by the way, the chat's open. I put the link up already before we started. I still got to go to work. This will be my last night on 3rd shift. Dang. So we'll get back to normal, get some speakers on here for you guys to hear somebody other than me talk or my group. If anybody's wondering where Melissa and Tom are at, they're at some kind of festival in Missouri all the way up until Saturday. They didn't have a very good signal tonight, so they will not be joining us tonight. So like I said, anybody wants to come in and be with us, we would be glad to have you with us tonight. So appreciate that, Brian. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, just getting that time of year to where, the heat, the dearths are kicking in.
Yep.
It's not really a whole lot that you can do in your bees right now. Besides, if you're doing mite washes or you're doing your mite treatments, and depending on what you're treating with, you got to watch them temperatures too.
Yeah. And I think this is a really good time of year to do those mite washes like you're talking about, Lee. And also, if you're in there, where's your bees at? Are they ready for winter? You just talked about moving supers on some weaker colonies. That's a perfect time of year to do that and get them ready for winter. And if you're like me and you're doing nukes, you really want to make sure that, hey, they're not going to be drawing any more comb, right? So if there's only 3 frames in there and there's no drawn comb, you've got to get some combs in there for those guys to be able to backfill some honey in there because they're going to need it. So really important stuff to think about and evaluate your bees and get them ready for fall. So Spanky, what do you do when you try to get your bees ready for winter? Is there a certain sequence of things that you try to check off to get ready for winter?
Well, I'll try to make sure they got food.
Right.
You don't want to starve out.
Right.
So if they ain't got food, then you got to feed them.
Yep.
That was part of my reasoning for moving the extra supers that I had on some colonies to the other ones, because they were sitting there with just one deep box. Now, granted, they did have some honey in the outer frames, but I don't want them to burn through all that over the summer, the hottest part of the summer. There's nothing else coming in. You see a little pollen coming in here and there, but I'm not really seeing no nectar build up in the hive. So they're going to burn through what they have. And you want to make sure they got enough food so that when the fall flow does come, if we do get a fall flow, that they have enough to be able to build up the brood. So I took those extra supers, kind of equalizing the supers instead of just equalizing bees.
Yeah. And then also with what you're talking about, I guess down there where you're at, they're trying to cool that hive down, right? So they're burning through a lot of energy just trying to get the hive cooled down. We don't really have that problem up here as much, but I'm sure that happens where you're at. Is that correct?
Yeah, definitely. The heat down here, we've been 112, 115 heat index for a couple of days in a row now, and we're not getting the rain that we were getting. So it's been probably about a week since we've had any rain at all. So it's starting to get like a dust bowl in some areas.
So Paul says, next time I need to order a wax moth proof horizontal hive. This didn't have that feature. So let's see, we got a couple people popping in here. Tom and Melissa, got Sawmill Charlie.
How y'all doing today?
How y'all doing now?
Hey. I just wanted to stop by and say hi real quick. We're in a restaurant here in Sedalia at the State Fair.
Always eating.
Always eating. But my battery's about ready to die on my phone. But I just wanted to stop by and say hi to everybody real quick.
We appreciate you, Tom and Melissa, for stopping in and saying hello. We miss you guys.
Well, we'll be back next week with plenty of stories about Tom.
All right. That's what I'm looking forward to.
All right. You guys have a good night.
Yeah, have a good one. Be careful.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye. Now, I believe Paul's hive there, if I'm not mistaken, has the 6 chambers in it for nukes, and you got to be careful with that hive because I've had the same problem. If you get one of those chambers where you haven't combined down, you leave some old comb in there. Next thing you know, you've got wax moths and hive beetles really bad, and that's really a pain in the butt. And first time I used my new horizontal hive, I had the same problem. I think I left a couple chambers kind of empty as I was pulling queens out, and they got weak. And I didn't add queens back to those chambers. And next thing you know, you've got wax moths in there because it's just too weak to protect itself. And then it's a pain in the butt because then you're torching and cleaning all that mess up. And so yeah. I agree with you, Paul. Next time, I want a wax moth-proof horizontal hive too.
What I noticed on mine, I have the queen rear nuke, got the
That's
6
right.
chambers in it. Well, what I done, I forgot to take some of the frames out, and I noticed a little bit of wax moth getting in there a couple of years ago. Well, what I done after that, any chamber that I'm not using, I pull all the frames out, and I take my shop vac, and I go through and I vacuum everything out of there. That way, there's nothing attracting the wax moth or the beetle into that chamber.
Right.
And
Yeah,
that'll help eliminate a lot of it right there if you take everything out.
Yep. I agree 100% with you there, Lee, man. So, yeah. Yes, it's lessons you learn pretty quick not to let that happen to yourself. So, yeah. Charlie, what's going on with you, brother?
Well, it's raining here a little bit. It's not really pouring. It's just a nice, sometimes it kind of goes in bands of heavy rain. But, I mean, we've needed rain. We have had 2 months with no rain or little, really non-measurable amounts of rain. You might have a cell running over and it might be over top of you. So the last 2 or 3 days, we have had some showers, and I'm thankful for the rain coming in right now. I was glad the storm's coming up through here. Now, in relationship to the storm where I live, the heaviest rain is, like you say, is it's going away from Maryland into Virginia, more a southerly, westernly tract, and we're just getting the back part of it. It's supposed to rain tomorrow, I think, a little bit more, and but hayfields were getting brown, so we were.
Oh, wow.
It's a little bit brownish. So
this storm's kind of a blessing to you in many regards then, because you'll get a good rain off of that because it seems like it's really headed out your way. So
yeah, we're not getting a deluge of rain to where it's flooding or anything like that. It's just a nice, it's last night it rained for a while and it had enough time to soak it in, at least, and that kind of stuff. And there's Bob.
Yeah, I've seen some of Bob's videos and pictures. He's had a lot of rain down there for sure.
Yeah, we're not getting anything compared to what, where it's a steady rain. It's like today, it showered today, and then for 4 or 5 or 6 hours of just overcast, cloudy. And I had a load of firewood to deliver and across the guy's yard. And it's like, I wonder if the ground is still hard enough for me to back up on it. And it was. I mean, that's how hard the ground is. Even though it's rained and showered for 3 days, it's still hard and everything.
So Sean asked, am I going to Mexico and not the NAHBE? So again, me and Ruth have not made a final decision on whether we're going to go to Mexico or not. I did talk to her, I think it was last week actually, again about it. And we haven't set that in stone yet. So we're probably going to go to Mexico. That's about 90% sure that's what we'll do. And, I'm going to miss everybody at the NAHBE this year if that's what we decide to do. But I think Lee, man, we've talked to him a little bit. He said he's probably got something going on during the NAHBE also, so he may not be there. So,
yeah, me and Renee got to talking since you wouldn't go in our little group and everything. We've been just kind of looking around at different stuff anyway. So we may be going somewhere to go hiking that time.
We've been to every conference with Cayman that he's had, that he's thrown, and this would technically be the first year that we would miss out on that. And that's not something we want to do. It's just I really want to go with my family in the spring to the beach, and there's been 3 or 4 years now that we haven't got to go with them. So if we go during Christmas to see her family, then that would allow me to go to the spring with my family. So, but we'll see. We'll wait and see how that goes. Charlie, you going to go to the NAHBE this year? Have you still got plans on going?
I've already got hotel and tickets bought.
He's done invested.
I've already got my hotel reserved and everything, but I have up until the night before to be able to cancel it.
Yeah, I can do that too.
Doing anything.
But for me, NAHBE is that winter vacation for me.
Yeah.
I was, surprised that you guys might not go. I don't know. Bob talked about because of the date, as far as the New Year's thing, which that doesn't mean a whole lot. Never has really mean a whole lot to me. But so
but
I don't know.
I mean, the thing about the NAHBE is getting to meet the people there. Getting to meet Charlie there. That's what's special about going. Talk to him on here, or talk to you guys in the chat, but actually get to meet people in person and have a good conversation. It's so special.
Like us going out to the dinner that night,
yeah,
and that kind of stuff. Was real good. I like that.
Yeah, it gives you time to talk to people and enjoy them. And gosh, I think we went out to Golden Corral about every night, didn't we, Charlie?
That was the Cracker Barrel.
Cracker Barrel.
Yeah, Cracker Barrel.
Yeah,
that's right.
That's because it's next. Everybody talks about I like the Cracker. I said no, it's because it's next door to the hotel. And I don't know. I don't know of any other than the place that you went to the Mexican restaurant that night on a Wednesday night. I guess it was.
Yep.
And all that, and yeah. And so it's that's what I enjoy. Like you say, the camaraderie, the friendship. I mean, when it comes to the classes, as far as the different talks, some of them I hit. And I mean, I could go online, right, and look at all the ones that I didn't go to, but there, it's after a while you get into beekeeping for a while. There's not a whole lot of making a shopping list. All right.
Now that is important. Going to this conference is you better have some deep wallets, because you're going to find stuff really cheap, great prices, and it's worth your trip out there just for the discounts from the.
Well, the biggest thing I learned this past January was number one, if you're going to, like, say I was buying mite treatments, mite treatments and any other products, you want to pre-buy it before you get there. Number one, no sales tax. Number two, you save on shipping. If you buy it there, they got it set up where you have to pay them sales tax. And it's 6%, I think, out there, like Maryland is. Yeah. And that could be, that's $6 100. That adds up right quick.
And that's the thing that they did to the vendors this year. I don't know if anybody knows this or not, but we had to pay sales tax on everything we sold there. We didn't have to do that when we was in Tennessee. They actually had to fill out a form. If you didn't have some kind of tax already with Kentucky, you had to sign a paper and turn it in. So that's a little rough on the vendors having to deal with that.
Well, the thing of it is, you had to charge sales tax.
Exactly.
You were the tax collector for the Kentucky.
You're correct.
And all.
Yep, that's correct.
So, I mean, I bought some Aprivar strips, a couple 60 packs. Well, I bought it through Foxhound Supplies, prepaid, and just picked it up there. And I got a good deal. I mean, it was a very good deal as far as the price of it, because they had discounted it prior to this show and all that stuff. So, and then I didn't do that with Formic, and I should have done that with Formic, but I didn't. But
so let me ask you a question, Charlie.
Basing that on the way Tennessee was too.
Now, if you're like me, every time I go, I think, well, I really don't need that. I really don't need that. And then when this bee season gets to going, it's like, why didn't I buy that? I need that now. It's like, gosh, now I need more jars. Now I need more hardware, and I could have got it so cheap there, but I just didn't take the time to move on. Did you do the same thing?
I knew what I wanted to buy. I mean, like Apis was being sold there. Well, the shipping is what you're saving on, and if you pre-buy it, like I say, you are saving on the taxes most of the time, and that kind of stuff. Some things you can buy there. Some things I just don't have enough room to take back with me, type of thing. I mean, it depends on where you live at and whether or not you can pick up stuff relatively cheap.
It depends on if you driving there or if you flew there too, how much you can bring back with you.
You're not going to take anything home.
Right.
Yeah, I was about to say rent the U-Haul.
Well, it's like Flower Street, Brian there. He brought his truck. He knew what he was going to get, and they prepped just like Tom and Melissa. They live, I'll say, probably closer. They probably are living, I think, 4 or 5 hours away, something like that. But they brought trucking or whatever. They knew, well, they've already pre-bought an automatic uncapping machine. So they knew they had a huge ticket item that they had to have space and stuff like that. I mean, I was getting Apis pollen patties. I was getting different types of mite treatments and things like that. And you kind of have to it's like Brian says, you got to make your shopping list now, and you got to check prices out. And then when them deals come up, okay, what's Formic locally and what's Formic, at the different vendors or whatever who are selling it and that kind of stuff. And buy, you got to be a good shopper.
And then you can look at, do I want to go up in my extractor, right? Is it time for me to move up to that next level, or is it time for an uncapping tank or or a bottle and something to bottle with? That's what you're looking at prior to go. It's like, okay, maybe you did buy extractor this year. Now I need the the bottle and tank, so that's kind of the things you got to get ready for.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I kind of already have all that stuff.
You do.
It's like the extractor. Well, I went through Man Lake to get that years ago. It's an 18 frame. Do I need anything bigger? Not really. I mean, the only thing bigger would be a 30, which is too big for what I need to do. And I went from a 5-gallon bucket to a Hive Butler uncapping tank. I originally I got a Man Lake steel uncapping tank. It was damaged. I sent it back. I said, I'm not spending $700+ for something that's damaged. And looking down the road, when you want to resell it, I'm not going to pay you but half of what it's really worth, because it's damaged. So I got to looking at it. My situation is it's like Tom and Melissa. They have an automatic uncapping machine. And they also uncap 100+ supers. And they also have 100+ hives. I don't have that. I don't need that machine. But when you get into something like that, you better have a honey house, a dedicated building, room, whatever, that can house that stuff. Because you don't want to, you can't be moving that around. There's Carl. What I wish.
Yeah, I think the dates kind of might miss with a few people because it's kind of usually the week after New Year's, and now it's hitting on that New Year's weekend, so it hurts.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I don't know. I see. I mean, like I say, I don't. Well, if it wasn't a bluegrass dance that you which you brought in New Year's, I wasn't going anywhere, you know.
So,
No.
Charlie, let me ask you another question. What do you do to get your hives ready for winter? I mean, are you already looking at that? I think
I'm already prepping.
Yeah, already
All right,
prepping.
the picture behind me there, that's a current picture of my hives. That's part of the production hives there behind me. I don't know if I can get out of the way and see it.
Oh, that's
There,
nice.
there we go.
So you're running deep and mediums, is that correct?
I'm running triple mediums, and that one yellow one there is a double deep. This year, to give everybody that doesn't know, I lost about 50% of my production hives, and the queens that did survive were just failing. I'll just say that. And so I called my friend Lloyd up, who's getting nukes in from. I had nukes, but they were already pre-sold, and I was promised them. You know, I'm talking prior to the first of the year, and so I held up my bargain on that. You know, usually my setup was a dozen honey production hives and somewhere's around 20 nukes. And there was a little bit less than 20 nukes there. Some of them had died on me and whatever. Hey, Sandy. So anyway, I held up my bargain to sell the nukes. So I bought nukes from South Carolina, from Kudix, through my friend Lloyd, along with 15 queens. And so I requeened all them hives that were, I went out there, pulled the old queens out 5 days prior to getting the queens. And that's how it kind of worked out. Then I went out there as soon as I got the queens, and I actually took off from work that morning or that afternoon or whatever. I said, I get a little bit on edge when I have queens in a cage sitting on my table in my kitchen. I want them in the hive, because I've had one die on me, and there goes $30 at the time right out the door. So I took off from work. I went through every frame, shook off all the bees on every frame. You know, of course, by that time, after 5 days, there is nothing left there for them to make a queen cell. I smashed everything that was a queen cell, everything that looked like a queen cell, and went through that process and that afternoon and put those caged queens in there. And I had a 95 or better % take, because that's how you should do it. And did that. And then I had 10 nukes. And last year, this time, I was looking at my production hives, and I'm thinking to myself, you know, I put the supers on, I took the supers off. That's the work part. And spinning the honey out's the work part. But after you've done all that and you put them back in, where I got 3 mediums at the time, I do that because of weight. And I've got 5. Well, I'll get to that point. I got to thinking about it last year and saying, you know what? All I got to do is put mite treatments in, and I'm done with them hives. And I don't need to touch those hives. But maybe, you know, if it's, I got right now, I got Aprivar. All right. I haven't really looked into them hives for 3 weeks. Now I might go through this hive and see if everybody's okay. And all that. And I said, you know, that's a lot less work. And then selling nukes, maybe it's me and maybe it's my system. You get new people, new beekeepers, and then you get semi-seasoned beekeepers, and it's like, guys, get here now. I need you here today, because these things are going to be in the trees if you don't come and get them. Right. Or they're going to overheat in the cardboard box, even though I bored out holes and put big screens over them to give them the most maximum amount of air ventilation they can get. And things like that, you know, and I would, you know, I'm making a couple grand selling bees. but the stress load of getting them out the door
That's right.
before they hit the trees or before they die, I got to the point where I'm like, you know what? I don't think it's worth it. I don't think it's worth all the stress. And so I made a decision when I had all these dead outs and stuff. I said, and I had planned to go from 12 to 14 honey hives and knock down some of my, take out the racks that I had. Most of my racks for the nukes would hold 4 nukes. So I would put 2 honey hives in and replace the 4 nukes. So I decided, no, I'm going to get out of the nuke business. So I'm going to go to, I said, I can sell honey. There's the honey. Give me the money and I'm done with the sale. And I don't have to worry about anything. It's an easy sale. And I'm at my location is a good location. I sell a lot of honey. Yeah. And another guy up the road here, he quit and he points everybody to me. I had a lady stop this week, get 6 pounds of honey, and she's a half an hour, 40 minutes down the road and comes to me. So anyway, I decided to put in 16 honey hives and I went from 20 nukes down to 12. And anyway, I've revamped my business model, as I call it. I'm going to go into honey production. I am going to have a dozen nukes. I might sell a few in the spring to some friends, but I'm not going to advertise. And I'm keeping them for me as resource hives. And then I'm going to get back into raising queens. I hadn't had time to really raise queens for the last 3 years. And so I enjoy queen rearing a lot.
I enjoy the queen rearing too, but I still want to do the nukes. And I hear what you're saying, Charlie, on the stress of having people come, and it is very stressful. Most of the time I try to, you probably do the same thing though. I try to go ahead and put them in a 10 frame box, and then when they come, then you have to transfer them back over and back into the nuke. But that's about all you can do to keep them from swarming out. And I've kept people's nukes for over a month, but the good thing about it is once you pull that nuke out and sell it, you have those resources again that they brought in during that time. So,
well, I've had some of them where they brought their own hives in, where I just transferred into their own hives, and that was great, and the thing of it is the most new beekeepers, well, the bees are supposed to be on my schedule, and I'm like, no. You are on the bee schedule.
Yep, that's right.
And you better stick with it or the bees are going to leave.
Right.
And if you don't, you got to get that in your head right off the bat. Or you got that person that puts bees in a box, walks away and like, well, they're supposed to take care of themselves. And that's totally stupid, And it doesn't work that way. And
I did have one customer this year that they said, well, I got a nuke from you and there's no bees in the box. And I'm like, well, they probably swarmed out on you. Did you leave it in the nuke box? Yeah. You've got to get it transferred over. And they're new beekeepers, right? But makes you feel bad that, here you give them bees and they swarm out, but you've done everything.
But the thing of it is,
they look bad at you.
That type of customer, that's the one that you spend 15 to 20 minutes giving them a crash course on how to keep bees.
Correct. Yes.
And it's not one customer, it's one after another, after another, after another. And after a while, you get a little bit agitated, and it's like, I try to be helpful and I try to be nice, but sometimes you feel like shaking them and like, we're, the first thing I asked them, did you go to bee school? And they're like, they look at me. I said, did you go to the college class over here at our local college or go to, some of the club schools? I mean, my club that I president of, we partner with the college. And if you go through the college, then you have a year's membership with the club, And some of them say yes, and well, I'm going to do it all off the YouTube. I'm like, yeah, okay, right. You might listen to the right guy. I said, I hope you're listening. Yeah. Hope you're listening to me. But I says, there's a lot of things I don't cover, because I don't go down into the basics. I don't cover basic stuff. Now, it's like right now, this week is EAS in Maryland, Eastern Apiculture Society, where the master beekeepers get their certification and stuff. And it's only 45 minutes from my house. It was close to where you went and took a hive over there around Reisterstown, some places, right where it's at.
Right.
And it's like, I didn't go because number one, it's like $300 for the week. And it's about 5 days long. And I could have drove there too. I'd have to get up at the crack of dawn to get around the Beltway because of the traffic. But you look at the itinerary and it's like how to light a smoker. I'm like, really? And a lot of basic beekeeping stuff. And then when you got into the advanced, the really only thing I've seen advanced was queen rearing. And I knew these guys were planning this. I said, hey, you're going to obviously teach how to graft, transplant a larvae from one thing to a cup, right? Yeah. I said, are you going to teach how to set up a cell builder, a queenless cell builder, a queen right cell builder finisher? No. That's half of the other. That's the other half of the whole education process. Yep. So I said, what's the sense of going, I mean, I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, you can transfer them larvae or do whatever you need to, but if you don't know where to put them or what time to put them in, you're defeating the purpose there.
And then they had the conference was like the last 3 days, I think, tonight and tomorrow. Tomorrow, I think, might be the last day. But anyway, it's 3 science guys, each one science guy each. I said, I've had all these guys speak at my club. And I said, I've already heard this, speak that he was going to talk about, whatever. And it's like, I'm not going. People look at me like, what? I says, look, you want a real conference? You want to I says, go to NAHBE. I said, once you go to NAHBE, there ain't nothing comparison to that one show. I said, that is, it is the biggest show in the United States for hobby backyard sideliner, and even some commercial. I mean, not a lot of commercials not going to go there, but some, Yeah. But I said that's the show. And when you try to compare all the other little state conventions and whatever, there's no comparison. You're not even going to have 20 vendors, I don't think, at most of them state conventions. No. Even this EAS, I think Man Lake's going to be there, and maybe.
Yeah, and then the other thing is you get some good speakers, but you're not getting a ton of great speakers, that know what they're talking about.
Well, like EAS, they were all science guys.
See,
I said, well, science is fine, but I said, you know what? I like to have a real world, a hands-on beekeeper speaker. Somebody that, I want to learn how to do something in my hives, in my apiary that will be beneficial to me and my bees.
That's right. That's right.
That's where I'm at. Tell me something that I can use in my hives that's beneficial to me and my bees.
Right. I know we went the first year to Cayman's conference and they had Randy Oliver on. And I enjoyed what Randy had to say, but there was some new beekeepers sitting there and they had no clue what he was talking about. It's like, what is he talking about? What is this? And they were asking all of these questions and stuff. And it was not at their level. You know what I'm saying? It was just way over because he's so scientific on all his research. They didn't really understand what he was talking about.
Yeah. And I mean, so get back to my apiary and the winter thing. Unless I'm kind of sidetracked it there. But anyway, I took and I decided to expand, like I say, to 16 production hives and go into the nukes and go into queen ring for next year. And I didn't want, money is, how money is and when it comes to beekeeping. So anyway, I said, I was trying to save anything I could possibly save as far as honey production. Last year, I did 975 pounds of honey, and I sold 1,100 pounds. And this year, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm in halfway through April. I am dead I might get 500 pounds of honey if I'm lucky. And so I put them queens in there. They took off like a bunch of rockets, laying up eggs and building up my hives, for production. And I said, I got everything, all the nukes came in deeps. And I'm like, a friend of mine said, hey, instead of trying to transfer them from deeps to medium and wasting all that time, have you got any deep boxes? I said, yeah, I don't know how many. I'd have to look. But anyway, that's what I did. I put them in deep so I could put a super on top of them right away just to see whether or not I could get a little bit of honey out of them. Actually, I got about 2 supers per hive that way. And I wound up for the year at 1,010 pounds of honey. And I'm like, where did this come from? It wasn't all 16 hives that were supered either. There were around 12 or so. And we also had a very late honey flow this year. I mean, usually by July 1, we're done. It's not there. And we were going in about midway July with a flow. I even talked to the bee inspector, and she was saying, well, it could be, the white clover, the Dutch white clover. And I said, well, there's staghorn sumacs across the road over there, which I read up on, which is a nectar source and a pollen source. And now here just recently is the spotted lanternfly, which some of you guys probably don't even have. It's an invasive bug, but it excretes sugar water basically, and the bees suck it right up. So I got done extracting, and when I put the 3 mediums in, that's my winter configuration, like double deeps. The bees always fill the top box with nectar for winter. And I went back out there like a week or two after I extracted, after around the 1st of July, or I got done extracting. I think it was on the 4th of July. I went 2 weeks later, because that was like when it was about 100 degrees every week. We actually didn't work half a days and stuff. And darn if those supers weren't full of nectar. Fully, the strong hives were completely filled. I'm like, yay. I don't have to feed them, and they got food, and it's hot and all that stuff. So that's where they're at now. Now, I guess it would be the 3rd week of July. I wanted to use April Guard, and it's just too hot. And I had bought 260 packs of Vapor Bar. So I have a neighbor that I've been teaching, and he helps me harvest, and he uses my equipment so he can harvest. And I said, look, I'll buy all this Vapor Bar. And what?
DC said, well, I should have brought my dinner back to the computer. I so enjoy grumpy old men. Well, see, Charlie, you was talking about your nectar flow lasted a little bit longer this year.
Yeah,
ours was just the opposite, at least for my immediate area. Ours ended a little early this year, but we was getting rains almost every day. It wasn't so much that it was real hard rains.
Now bring that next comment back up there, DC.
But I mean, we were getting rain almost every day, and the wind.
Oh, that just washed everything away.
Blew all of our stuff out early this year. Because normally at the end of June, beginning of July, I can pull my honey, put the super back on, and they'll bring a trickle of nectar in, and that's what I would leave them for the summer.
Right.
But this year, I mean, it really wasn't nothing left for them to bring in. So that's why I'm just leaving the supers that are on there now.
You guys were getting all kinds of rain, and we were drying up here. If we got a cloud, it just happened to, like a cloud coming over top of you, and you got 15 minutes worth of rain, you were like, yay, we got something,
We got nothing in like the last week now. It's getting dry around here.
Jonathan is that Vioxeton, those are those extended release oxalics. I know it's this month that they're supposed to be approved, and I think here in Maryland they've been approved, because that's the thing. EPA has to approve it, and then every individual state has to go for it. You know, so you might be approved here, but you might not be able to get it wherever. It's like the APRIGuard tub. Todd out in California, he can't buy that legally. That's illegal. You got to have an applicator's license to do that. You know. But anyway, third weekend, I decided, I was hemming and hawing, and I was like, you know, it's just way too hot. It was 2 weeks after those 100-degree weeks we had. And I watched a Bob Benny movie, you know, the 2003 video where he said, if it's 95 degrees, he said, don't even dare put it in. And I'm like, you know, and everything was 90 degree. And I'm like, okay, I bought the strips, might as well use them. So I've had APRIVAR in. The APRIVAR will come off. Everything is timed. I start the third week of July. It's most because of APRIVAR. It's in for 6 weeks. The 31st of this August of this year, this month, they come out. That puts me at September. September, usually I'll get a window, at least 5 days, probably 4 to 5 days of 75 to 80 degree. I will put formic acid full strength in 10 frame hives with the 2 strips are going across, and they will stay in there for 2 weeks. And after that, I'll pull them out. And all that kind of stuff. You know, Matt, on those slow release, let's see, I've heard friends of mine, and then of course that last video that Bob just put out, they maintain if you have a low mite load to begin with, they will maintain that low mite load. The same, a friend of mine in my club, she had a back operation last year. She put him in, I think this time of the year, she knew she couldn't get into these long lang hives for months, and she made up her own. I'm going to say that much. Put him in there, and when she tested in October, mite load was still suppressed very low. So it's not a knockdown device. You got to have to understand that. So, anyway, Formic Pro goes in, and then after that, I start feeding. And before I start feeding, I've got some Appy tabs. I'm going to try them. I'm going to throw them in, put the hives together, put the top hive feeders on, and throw the feed to them. And when I do that, I don't never open them up again. After that, I don't break any of the seals. And then in the wintertime, I finally learned the hard way that oxalic acid vapor, if you want a 98% kill, you try to use it when it's the most broodless there is in the hive. And I will hit them at least once a month, if not twice a month, every 2 weeks, if it's a 45-degree day. And I will hit them throughout the whole winter. Last year, January, I was at NAHBE, and that was the only weekend that had a 45-degree day. So they didn't get treated in January, but they got treated twice in February. Once in the beginning of February and right at the end, the 1st of March. And after that, I don't treat anymore.
And that just gets them booming right before spring. They ain't got no mites probably, and they're ready to roll when that spring flow hits. That's
and then I also feed with Apis Biologic.
So something they do in Mexico. Now I'm going to show this. Now this is illegal. Okay. They're using a different type of slow release down there. If you do this here in the United States, you're going to get tagged for it. But if we can see that or not.
What is it?
This is what they're using in Mexico.
Bovatraz?
Bovatraz. It's a type of APRIGuard. They do a slow release with
it's Amatraz, but it's
Amatraz, yeah.
It's Amatraz, and it's a what would you call it? A more heavy dose.
Yes, it is. And they're using the same process with the wet towels. They're soaking those wet towels and putting it into the hives. Again, you get caught doing that, you guys are in big trouble. But that is something that they're doing, and they were already doing the OA that way down there before, it was okayed here. So,
You mean as far as the extended release?
yeah,
That's
exactly.
where, actually, to be quite honest with you, if you go back with Bob Binney and the gal down in Georgia, they took the medication in Mexico. I think what it was called, it was in a cardboard strips,
Mm-hmm.
and they were experimenting with it to see whether it would work and what the real, what it was all about. And that's why we got it now, is because they found out it will work.
Right.
They already, they proved a lot of science about it, and then they finally were able to get EPA to, try to approve it, I guess.
Yeah. It's just hard here in the United States to get them to make a move on certain products, even though they've been used other places for a long time.
Depends
Right.
on how much money is involved.
You got it. That's a lot of it right there, Lee.
That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. It's all about the money.
Yep.
But
and
so
again,
that's
I don't condone putting a lot of chemicals on your bees. I'm a little bit more of a naturalist, so everybody's got to make that decision. And just remember, when you put these harsh chemicals in your hive, it is getting in your wax. Okay. So be careful with your supers that you're putting on your hives. So.
right. But that's my treatment program. If I have, I would love to go with AprilGuard from July through August, and then continue on with the Formic and the OA treatments, because they're all considered organics. The problem with the organics is they're more harsher on the bees than the synthetics, as they call them, and that kind of stuff. So that's my game plan. Right now, what you asked earlier about what you've been doing in the hives. Like I say, mite treatments are on, and they're, nukes get a strip for every $5, just like I put it in my video, the last one I put out. And what's this?
That's my wife. She says, what are you talking about? We do a lot of illegal things in Mexico. I smuggled Ricky through the border.
And so anyway, I found the queen in this white nuke that I had took out. There's a queen in that one of them 10 frame hives that I think came out of this nuke, which it had a deep box and a medium box, and the medium box happened to have brood and everything in it. So I basically took that medium nuke and I threw it right into that 10 frame hive that was queenless. And I shook a whole bunch of bees in there and found a queen in there. And I also found a queen in my nuke, where I got that all from. And the queen in that nuke is dark brown with stripes, which definitely is a cutic queen. I mean, I've seen the same type of queen from them before. And this other one, I'm not sure. She's got some Italian in her. But it's been in there going on 2 weeks now. I checked a week and a half ago, and she's not laying any eggs. So I don't know whether she's a dud or what. So I got a queen ordered from a guy on the Eastern Shore of Maryland. He's a queen breeder. And that's coming in next Wednesday. And I'm going to go out there Saturday. It's supposed to be clear weather. Check and see. If she's not laying it, then I'm pulling her out of there. And I don't think I'm going to pinch her right off. I'll use her as a queen marking by the finger holding and like that, to see if I can get used to doing that.
You're going to video that, ain't you?
Yeah, I hope so.
You're going to video, huh?
Yeah, we'll try. We'll try to do some video.
We're going to see your paint job.
Yeah, we'll see what we can do on that. I also have I call it a crown of thorns. It's a round circle with nails with all the little wires in it. You're supposed to put it right on top of the hive. Thought about maybe using that too. But anyway, if she's not laying, she's out of there. That way, right. And the thing of it is, if she hasn't been laying, then that hive does not have any viable eggs or larvae in there that they can turn into a queen cell. So, anyway, that's where I'm at my thing. I'm trying to get and I had one hive that was went queenless and it was dwindling and had very little bees, and I just took all those bees, shook it into another hive, and got rid of that nuke, which I'll use that spot on the rack for my cell builder next spring, which turned out to be just fine. Now he was talking about mite checks. Steve was talking about that, and about, you get a half a cup of bees with, which equates about 300 bees. And if you do the math, if you get 3 mites in a shake, that's considered a 1% infestation.
Right.
And if it's 2, it's like 6. If it's 3, it's 9 mites. But yet everybody, and I mean, like Ian and different ones, they talk about, and this is where I'm confused about that. If we have 1 mite in the cup out of 300 bees, that's okay. You don't really need to have to treat per se. If it's 2, they're starting to say now, well, you better be thinking about treating. And if it's 3, you definitely need to treat. Well, that's not, have they changed the rules? Are they getting down to where it's a 0.5% or whatever?
Well, I'm going to tell you, Charlie, my rule of thumb is, and I'm glad Brian went ahead and treated. If I see 1 mite when I do my my alcohol washes, I treat. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to let them run through winter with mites, because that's just going to boom up. And even though I'm like you, I hit kind of early spring with a warm day with my OA and get them ready for spring, I'm going to treat. I'm sorry. I'm not going to let it get that bad.
I don't think you should wait till it gets to that level to where you're having to treat.
Well, see,
I mean, even if I do a shake or a wash and I don't have no mites in it, I'm probably still going to hit them with at least 1 round of OA to make sure there's none under the caps that are getting ready to hatch out.
Right.
Because if I go back out there in another month or month and a half, they could have had another round or 2 rounds of brood come out that had mites under the cap and that I didn't treat or couldn't treat with OA. And then they're going to start going into the fall time and getting your bees sick.
A lot of times when I'm doing my washes, Charlie, I might start at 12 o'clock. Well, I'm not getting done till 5 o'clock in the afternoon a lot of times. And now you've got all those worker bees coming in, right? So you're not getting nurse bees with those mites on it. Your numbers are getting skewed. So me personally, I like to go ahead and treat and get going. Now, has that changed? I don't know if it's changed or not, but I've heard the same thing that you just talked about. 2 mites, you might want to look at going ahead and treatment. But I've gone to, if I find even 1 mite, I'm going to go ahead and treat. And usually as you start going through your colonies, you're going to see a lot of mites.
Yeah. The train of thought is that, like Bob and them stated, you want to keep at, you don't want the mites to go up. You want to maintain a low level of mites in your hive, mite load in your hive.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing.
Yeah, even Mac, he started at 4 o'clock and worked till 8:30. So, it's hard to do those treatments and get it in that time frame if you've got a lot of hives to give you a good reading, I think. So,
hey, Rick,
right.
Off that time.
Yeah. So it's 9 o'clock. I'm gonna have to go to work. This is my last night of 3rd shift for everybody on the live chat. So Thursday we'll run as long as we need to. I think Lee's going to get off tonight, so we're going to shut the chat down. But maybe Charlie will go ahead and get back on or do a live stream for a few hours with you guys. If
I'll be on tomorrow night.
Yeah, so
I got to be on tomorrow night.
So
I was on Tuesday night. I don't want to be like Lee and Bob were years ago.
Getting burnout, huh?
Yeah, everybody enjoys listening to you, Charlie. That's for sure. So
well, I'm glad. I hope everybody comes to NAHBE instead of going everywhere else.
Yeah,
I mean,
I agree.
But anyway, so you're still making airplane parts?
My wife won't let me quit, Charlie. She said she would, and she's not let me do it yet. No, to be
Well-
honest with you, I was going to quit, but I'm having problems with my feet. I'm going to have some surgeries done. So
I wouldn't do that, Ricky. I mean, to be quite honest, I'm sure you have benefits and stuff like that.
yeah,
And, bees are not going to do that for you.
yeah,
And it's like myself. I mean, if I had worked someplace else, I'd be retired with a retirement check, whatever, and all
Right.
that stuff. And, I'm self-employed and I don't have that. And people say, when are you going to retire? I says, you can't. I
right.
just got to keep on working. And I mean,
around.
you get to the point where really, if you be quite honest with you, people who do retire, they die right quick.
That's true.
I said people
Well, my game plan, Charlie, is to let Ruth carry the insurance and all that good stuff and have all those good benefits, and then I can just kind of do that as a side job. So that's hopefully I can get there, but like you say, it's getting there and getting it done is a whole different story, right? So,
Yep. So,
yeah.
all
But
right,
anyway, we're gonna get off here tonight. I appreciate everybody on the live chat tonight. You guys have been great. Charlie, you're awesome as always, coming on tonight and being with us.
well, I had a chance to get on tonight. So,
yeah. And until next Thursday, we'll see you then.
Have a good one.
see y'all later.